So again, hi everybody. Welcome to Networking for Creative Professionals. My name is DP Layton. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the Assistant Director for Creative Careers here at the Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts. If you didn't know, the Herberger Institute has its very own career center. Creative Career Services is inside the Herberger Institute Dean's office. The Office of Student Success is where we are located. While we do have physical locations in the locations here in Arizona, about 90% of our services are actually virtual, online. All of our services are open access online. Different things like resume reviews and advising appointments and networking events and webinars like this are all available online. So you don't have to physically be here in Arizona in order to connect with us and use our services. So today we are going to talk about tips for networking for creative professionals. Whether you are an alumni who's been in the industry for 14 years, or even a prospective student who hasn't even started college yet, everyone can benefit from this and everyone can start networking and using these tactics. It's never too early to start and it's never too late to start. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Alrighty, so I always start off with this slide, taking care of your career, especially when you are networking and especially when you are actively applying to jobs and stuff. These are 4 very important habits to build. The first is checking your email. And when I say email, this can also extend into your messaging apps on social media, such as LinkedIn and Handshake and more. But check your email. Please build a consistent habit. I set aside at least 1 hour every Saturday or Sunday, depending, to just check through all my emails. If you're like me, you have a student email, a work email, a friends and family email, a spam email for signing up for things online. Regardless of what you have, try to build a consistent habit of checking your emails. I'd love to use the reaction feature. If you've ever seen an all call for artists or an email about a job post or anything like that with a special date, you didn't read the email until after that thing had already passed, until after the time, and use the reaction. I know some of you guys have. Well, it happens, and it will happen, and that's okay. It's kind of just part of the game. However, yeah, okay, we see some thumbs up here. So it's going to happen. It's totally fine, but it's going to happen a lot less frequently if you build a consistent habit of checking in. The other thing is to answer your phone calls, especially people today, millennials and underneath. Answering phone calls isn't the greatest thing. I don't know about you, but my spam calls have just been increasing over this past year. Your phone is pretty good at telling you whether or not it is a spam call, but especially if you are actively networking and actively applying for jobs, make a habit of answering phone calls. Doesn't have to be elaborate or anything, but just something as simple as hello. And if you get nothing or whatever, that's totally fine, but it might be somebody important. You want to make sure you're doing a little vocal warm up. Sometimes I realize by noon I haven't actually spoken to anybody, so I got to warm up my voice, but answer professionally and be prepared to have a conversation. I totally understand. We all know you are busy. You're in classes, you're working, you're doing incredible things. People like myself. So you can't always speak on the phone. So you need to set up a voicemail. I don't want it to be a robot, and I don't want it to be not set up. Do you know how many times I've been hiring people for over a decade now? Do you know how many times I get a really great application and I really want to speak to this person? I want to call them and extend them an offer to interview. And I get the voicemail box belonging to so-and-so is not yet set up. Goodbye. It's full and cannot accept messages at this. You know what happens to that? It goes at the back of the pile and I will get around to you when I get the chance. But unfortunately, I gotta keep going on. When a job posting closes, you can expect any time between 3 days and 3 weeks to when you're going to hear about whether or not you're going to get an interview, and they'll typically call you. So you got to make sure you're setting up those voicemails. Something as simple as, hello, you've reached DP Layton. I can't come to the phone right now. Be crazy, doesn't have to be very elaborate, but something simple, and I want a human voice. Last but not least, kind of why we're here today, engaging. If you're not engaging with your network, it's kind of like leaving money on the table. It's leaving intellectual property on the table. You're not taking advantage of all of these opportunities that are available.
Okay. So hopefully you guys can still all hear me. So the next thing I want to introduce is Creative Career Services. Again, we have a lot of different resources available to ASU students and alumni. Alumni have access to career services for life. I love having, especially recent graduates coming back in, checking in on how things are going, using our services. And additionally, even for families and even students who aren't ASU students, a lot of this is open access. So all of the handouts and stuff you can go online and use. So our most popular is career advising appointments, one-on-one appointments. We also do one-on-one appointments and virtual review of application materials like resumes and cover letters. We have really niche industry-specific resources, especially for a lot of our film and entertainment people online. There are specific job boards and networking sites really unique to that field. We research all of those and we provide you those really specific resources. A lot of our stuff, like I said, is on demand. A lot of our students and staff and alumni are night owls. I don't want to be working at 2 a.m. So a lot of this stuff you can access 24/7. You can send us a virtual resume review 24/7. You will be going through us to register your internship for credit if you are a student doing that. And we also have lists of on-campus jobs and on-campus jobs. I don't need to read the statistics, but there are really great statistics about students, enrolled students with on-campus jobs actually have higher GPAs, better attendance, and better overall persistence, meaning they graduate in time, than students who don't have on-campus jobs. It's not to say you absolutely have to get one or you're not going to succeed, but very often there's this myth that if I have a job, I'm not going to be able to do schoolwork. The great thing about on-campus jobs, and those go for remote jobs as well as on campus, is that they accommodate for your academic schedule, whereas an off-campus job might not necessarily be able to do that. So the reason we're all here today, what is networking? Why is it important in your field? What does it mean to you? Well, 80% of jobs in creative industries, especially film, media, and entertainment, it might even be higher, they are secured through networking. Now, that doesn't mean nepotism. It doesn't mean daddy got me a job over at MGM. What it means is a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today helps secure your job. It helps get your foot in the door a lot easier than just going in blind. So the benefits of networking, you learn about different opportunities in your field. Film, entertainment, media, arts, design. There's such a wide and varied ecosystem of careers. My background is in photography, and when I was freelancing, I can tell you there are a lot of jobs. Being behind the camera and being the photographer is just one of probably about 20 jobs that are around on set. And especially if you've been on a film set, you know that there's a lot of jobs on there. You can find out about different opportunities on set. Obviously, making a connection. Humans like speaking to other humans. All of this becomes a lot less scary applying to jobs if you have a human on your side that you can ask questions with and connect with. Learning, we're going to talk about how networking is actually research. Even if you're not speaking to a human, networking helps you find out a little bit more about your industry and explore other options. So I always love using this slide. We are all two toddlers in a trench coat pretending to be an adult. When I present in classes, I typically at this point turn to the faculty and say, hey, do you have it all figured out? And they shake their head no. I don't have it all figured out. I'm sure everyone on this call, no one has it figured out. We're all growing and learning. We're just human beings. And when you're networking with people who are a little bit maybe more senior than you, every single person has been in your shoes. They've been where you are. If you're a graduating student, we all know how scary it can kind of be to, like, for a lot of us, be out of school for the first time since kindergarten. Like, it feels weird, and like jobs are now like a thing. It's okay. You don't have to be nervous. There is literally no downside to networking whatsoever. So the first and foremost is finding awesome people. How do you find awesome people? Well, communicating is networking. You can network with your faculty and staff, with your alumni, with industry professionals who are at companies you like or doing jobs that you like. You can network with people within your own community, faith-based communities, clubs and organizations, even your class, and your peers. When I'm teaching to classes, I always tell people, look to your left and look to your right. These people are not your competition. They're your lifeline to jobs in the future. Still to this day, I've been out of school for a number of years, let's just say, and I have had, I still to this day have friends of mine forward me stuff for like museum and gallery work and fine art work. And then I'll still have old clients reach out to me for things like taking weddings or doing fashion photo shoots. And I connect them with friends and alumni of mine that I have scattered all over the nation and all over the world. So your peers are also a reliable, your classmates, your friends are also reliable. Even your family can be a great place to network. Where can you network? It happens again, both online and in person. ASU, especially for students, ASU has so many incredible events that you absolutely should go to. If you're going to in-person events, if nothing less, you probably get some free food. Just go and show up, even if it's not related to your industry necessarily. Actually, especially if it's not related to your industry, if it's your first time going to a networking mixer or a career fair or a movie screening or anything like that, just go, because there's nothing to risk. If you're not actively applying or whatever, get your feet wet, see what it's all about, so that when you actually need to network to find jobs, you already know what the lay of the land is. You know how to warm yourself up and talk to people. But there's so many other things outside of events. You can go to alumni associations and clubs and organizations, career events, conferences. A lot of people don't realize that now, especially after COVID, there are a lot of virtual, online, and in-person conferences that are actually free to students. So make sure to check a lot of these things out. And of course, online, especially right now, post-COVID, is probably the biggest way to network. Hopefully everybody here knows about Handshake. There's, of course, Handshake, where you can research and find employers. You can find events that ASU is hosting or that even employers are hosting. Disney actually just hosted like a month ago, a networking event for their college internship program. You can also go on LinkedIn and really just any social media. Obviously, going to career fairs and events. Student clubs and organizations have both in-person and online stuff. One of my student workers is the head of our one of the art book clubs, and they only meet online and through Discord. There are, of course, conferences online, professional associations, not just student orgs, but professional organizations that, again, might be free for students and alumni. But before you start, especially online, you need to manage your digital footprint. I one time interviewed for a job, and in the interview, they said, "Oh, hey, we found this Flickr account online. Is this the right person?" And I'm like, "Oh, my Flickr account from high school with old high school photos." Yeah. I didn't do a good job about managing my digital footprint, and I was caught with my pants down. It was really embarrassing. So make sure that you are managing your digital footprint. Any of your unprofessional or just really personal social media profiles, set them to private or change your name entirely. And if you do have a professional profile or you want it to be seen by professionals, make sure that you're updating it, you're creating a robust profile, you're deleting the stuff that's a little bit too personal, and that you're engaging. I one time had a student worker who networked, had an informational interview with a ceramicist that she found on TikTok. They had a great conversation through Zoom, but they connected immediately through TikTok because he had professional stuff up and so did she. So it was a really, you can network anywhere. How do you start networking? We talked, establish an online presence. We're going to have everybody make sure that you're creating a good LinkedIn profile. And after this, I recommend taking the same tactics and doing it for all your other social media sites. You're going to want to craft a powerful introduction. Know who you are as a professional, what sort of opportunities you're looking for, and how you want to pitch yourself. How do you want people to, new people who you never met before, how do you want them to see you? And then last but not least, prepare for informational interviews. You're reaching out to somebody because they have knowledge that you want. So what do you want to ask? So finding the right people is really half the battle. ASU has over like 800,000 alumni or something at this point. Like, it's absolutely crazy. So how do you filter through all of those alumni to find the right ones? Especially for creative industries, there's billions of people, like millions of people, maybe, I don't know numbers. There's a lot of people in these fields. Disney alone has like way too many people for you to sift through. How do you use keywords and filters and tools on these sites to find the right people? So of course, it starts by building your online presence. Creating a robust profile is important because we'll see in a little bit, especially with a site like LinkedIn, and this can be extended to other social media sites as well, but LinkedIn is the most relevant. If you don't have a robust profile and you're not connected with enough people, you actually won't be able to see certain pages and connect with certain people. You have to have someone in common. You have to be connected to things. You have to have a more robust profile. So as I said before, a lot of times networking happens in pre-networking research. Before you're even talking to someone, you can learn so much about your industry, about alumni in your field, about where to go, about who to talk to, and about the people you want to talk to. So when you are on LinkedIn, and actually right now is a great time. If you guys are on your laptop, especially if you have dual monitors, that's fantastic. But if you have a LinkedIn profile and you're on your laptop, I recommend right now pulling up your LinkedIn profile on half of your screen and putting this zoom on the other half of the screen. Because if you follow along with us, what's going to be great is you have it in your search history and you can go back to it later. So when you're going on LinkedIn and you want to find alumni to speak with, for instance, do not go to the ASU alumni page, because the only people you're going to find on the ASU alumni page are LinkedIn members who opted into joining the alumni for that page. And as we all know, some people only have affinity to their specific college or their academic unit or their major, so they don't necessarily sign up for all these other things. The one place that you will find every single LinkedIn member who has listed ASU as their alma mater is on the Arizona State University page, and it's right here under alumni. Every single university, every single college, every single school has an alumni section, and every single company that's on LinkedIn has a people section. For universities, alumni means anyone on LinkedIn who has that university, that college, that school as an alma mater. And for people, it's everybody on LinkedIn who at least claims or actually is working right now for that company, or possibly in the past has worked for that company. So using the filters below, again, you can see here we have 570,320 alumni. That is a lot. We need to narrow our search, or else we're going to be scrolling through 2,000 pages or something like that. So you'll see down there the search for alumni by title, keyword, company, and there's a lot of other filters that you can use outside of just typing in a keyword. So I'm going to talk to you about one tactic. I had a music therapy student actually who was moving back to Florida after she graduated. And so what we did is we went on LinkedIn to at first just find alumni who are maybe located in Florida and around other areas. I put the red box on the wrong area over here, but what we can see here is where they work. So not only could this person go to find all the 23 alumni who have music therapy in their profile and live in Florida, but they can also go to where they work. Already, we have a list of where people with music therapy background work. We haven't even talked to anybody, and we already have employers that we know we can connect with and speak with. preliminary power of networking right there. Another student I had in architecture, and they just needed a list of places to network, to find internships and stuff. Again, you just type in architecture. Notice there that the end year is 2018. I want to make sure that the students I'm speaking with speak to people who are established in the industry for things like this. If you're looking to speak with people who have recently graduated, you can change that end year to talk to somebody who's maybe in their first or second job right out of college. But right here, again, with architecture, we already know how many students work at which organization. With Arizona State University, we're the #1 employer of ASU alumni, whether that be faculty or actually working in construction, architecture, and design for ASU. But there's a bunch of other organizations right there who hire ASU students in architecture. Great information to have. Now, with music therapy, we can go to the next page in these filters and see what do they actually do? Because your degree does not equal your job title. There's, again, a lot of ecosystems. So with this music therapy student, if we can't right off the bat get a job when we're moving back to Florida, what other types of careers and jobs and industries could we look into? Well, right there, there's social service, education, business development, healthcare. There's a lot of other things that they can look into. Now, you'll notice here, the reason why you need to make a lot of robust connections is because certain people you won't even be able to speak with unless you have connections. So you can see right next to the connect button with a lot of people, I am connected through 1 or 2 people to Elena and to Rihao, but under other ones, I'm not connected to anybody. And this one person, Lorena, I actually can't connect with Lorena because Lorena's profile makes it so that I am prevented from speaking with them unless I have a connection. So you can connect with the people you can, but the more people, the more friends you have on LinkedIn, the more connections, the likelier it is it opens the doors to more people you can speak with. And it also makes it really easy because if I reach out to Elena, I can say, hey, you and I both know Katie. That's fantastic. And it creates a little bit more of a bond between us. So again, keyword filters, education, their industry, where they volunteered at, mutual connections, things like that can be really helpful to narrow down, I need to find somebody in Florida, or I need to find people who work here in Phoenix in architecture, or I need to find, companies that typically employ people from my major. There are a lot of these filters that can help you before you're even speaking to somebody. Some best practices, again, create a robust profile. You're also going to want to cast a wide net. This isn't just like a 2-day thing of networking that's going to solve everything. You're going to want to do this consistently, and we're going to talk about casting a wide net and being persistent with networking with people. You're going to want to take notes on what you find. All of this research is really good, but it's only good if you're keeping record of it and you're tracking it. If it's just things in your brain, you're going to forget it. So take notes about what you find. Also research the individual. We'll talk about that and the importance of sending an icebreaker. But these are some really good kind of like top-down things. You got to start with the one before going to the next one. So you can't take notes on what you find if you're not casting a wide net and doing that research. You can't find an individual unless you're taking notes of where to even look. So the other one, I'm thinking in the interest of time, we might not have a whole lot of time to do this activity. But what I want you to do is take notes right now on the people who are on this call, including myself, and write down their names. And if you have your LinkedIn open right now, go ahead and look for them on LinkedIn. And if you don't have a LinkedIn profile already, I recommend setting it up. It's actually a great activity. Set like 2 hours aside one day this weekend, just dedicate time to that and just fill out a profile. What's great about LinkedIn and other sites like Handshake, LinkedIn, and other things, it'll actually tell you percentage-wise how robust your profile is and what missing information you might be able to fill in. But if you connect with everybody here, believe me, everybody has something to offer everybody else, especially if you're a graphic designer. Everyone will be barking up your tree to help you with things. But everyone has something to offer, and there's never a bad person to connect with. So continue growing your network. One assignment I want everyone here to do is to take a photo of this or whatever, and do that this weekend or sometime next week. Connect with every single friend and classmate that you can think of, family members, friends and classmates and stuff. Even if you think they're in an irrelevant field, they have a network as well, and they might know somebody who knows somebody, right? Reach out to faculty and staff, both previous and current. You can connect with myself. My colleague Juliet is on here. Juliet oversees experiential learning and internship processing inside Creative Career Services. Good person to be connected with. Reach out to alumni in your area and connect with them. Look for people at companies that you are interested in. And then, of course, you're always going to want to send a thank you email after you meet with people. If you interview for a job, certainly connect with those people on LinkedIn and send them a thank you message either through email or on LinkedIn. So there's a difference and a distinction between what we call cold connections and warm transfers. So a cold connection, these are people you do not know. You haven't spoken with them yet. With these people, you're going to need to send an icebreaker message introducing yourself. There is a 20% response rate, sometimes lower, and that's okay. It's not that they hate you by not responding. It just means that they're not on LinkedIn all the time, or they're not checking their email. So it's important to be okay with not hearing back. And sometimes you'll hear back way later on. I one time heard back from somebody like literally 16 months after I messaged them. And I was like, oh, I even forgot you existed. And then be persistent, but not pushy. We're going to talk about how to be persistent with cold connections later on. But with warm transfers, this means that someone is making the connection. You've spoken with the faculty and they say, hey, I think you should speak with this other person. And then you hold that faculty accountable and you say, hey, Phil, you mentioned that you were going to connect me with so-and-so. If your teacher or the person then emails that other person and copies you in that email and introduces you, there's actually an 80% response rate. That's really high likelihood. You're going to want to follow up with an email immediately after they make that connection. Say, hey, Bill, thanks for the warm transfer. Hi, Elena. It's really wonderful to meet you. I look forward to speaking with you soon. And then also be patient. If they're not responding, there's a high likelihood that they would, but you're not going to want to use the persistence methods that we're going to talk about in a little bit if they're doing a warm transfer. Just be patient and wait for them. So for icebreakers, people you don't know, it follows a really simple format. And if you follow this format, you'll probably make it into the character limit. I think it's like 350 characters that you send through most social media sites, especially LinkedIn. So hello, insert name here, person who you're speaking with. Do not use just their first name, use first name and last name. And if you can see their degree and they have a terminal degree and they have they're a doctorate, put Dr. So-and-so. I misspelled name, anime. I'd love anime. But my name is, insert your name. I am studying or graduated from this program. If you're a student, do that. If you're not a student, you can reference your current job or your passions or something. Reference how you're connected. If you're connected, like, hey, you and I both know Phil. He was one of my former teachers. Then you express, I'm interested in learning more about your job in XYZ, hearing about your time with that company. What did you do post-graduation? Things like that. I would like to, you're going to want to make sure you're not sending emails back and forth with 50 questions. You want to try and probably get them in person or on the phone or Zoom. But I would like to speak with you about such and such, ask you questions, get your feedback on blah, blah, blah. Now, this is the critical thing. And if you remember nothing less from networking, remember this. If you're sending a cold icebreaker message, give them a time frame. Are you available the second or third week of April? The reason you want to do this is because that is a very simple yes or no response. If you turn to me and you say, hey, DP, are you available sometime in the future? I'd be like, what, between now and when I die? Like, I have no context of what that framework looks like and when you need this advice. So if you say, hey, DP, are you free are you free sometime next week? I can very easily say, hey, you know what, I'm not. And about 9 out of 10 times, they'll actually give you an alternate time that works for them. Or they'll ask you, hey, you know what, let me know your general availability. They'll typically, if you give them a time frame, set up another time frame. Where if you leave it open, there's actually a less likelihood that they'll ever respond at all. And you always want to thank them for their time by looking at this. And I like the confidence in the statement, I look forward to speaking with you soon. It's not pushy, like I need to speak with you right now, but it's the confidence in, I have confidence that I am going to build this relationship with you. So I really like that statement in cold connections. This is just an example that I use when teaching classes about this. It's very easy. Again, I've got all the things in here. Follows a very simple format. If you haven't taken a photo of this yet or a screen grab, do that. This is a really helpful slide. So again, persistence is important. Again, we talked about it being 20%. Look for the person, not just on social media, but also their company website, even Google search them if they have their own personal website, and find their email. It's actually a higher likelihood if you email them that you're going to be connected. But if you're connecting with them on LinkedIn, you don't want to necessarily start by emailing them and sending a LinkedIn message. Connect with them and send that LinkedIn message first, and then go to email. But if you only have email, start with email. That's fine. Step 1 is outreach, that icebreaker message. We already talked about that. Step 2, 2 weeks after sending that, if you haven't heard back, make sure that you're sending this again, either on social media or email. If you're sending this on LinkedIn, maybe hop over, if you found their email, maybe hop over to email and say, hey, I'm bringing this back to the top of your email. I'm hoping we can find a time to meet. And then again, 2 weeks after that, send a final message which says, hey, you know what, it doesn't really seem like timing is working out, but let me know if you find some time in the future to connect. Thank you again. Because what that does is if let's say I'm on parental leave or I'm on vacation and I come back, I don't want 50 emails from you, but also I might be missing your email. But if you very politely send me reminder emails, I'm going to be a little bit more inclined to respond. So networking to find jobs and internships, getting your foot in the door and increasing the likelihood that you're going to get something. So you're going to want to start by favoriting and following the companies on social media before you even start applying to jobs with them. Follow them. Next, if you know who you're going to apply to, sometimes on LinkedIn and other sites, it'll actually tell you who the hiring manager is. Connect with them, follow them. Set up filters to get notifications for new jobs. Very often you can follow a company and set up a reminder or push notifications to let you know if jobs are coming up at that company. On Handshake, if you favorite that employer, you will get an email every time they're posting a new job. You're getting in on the ground level. You've got more time to craft your application to that person, and you don't actually wind up missing a job opportunity. Really encourage you to connect with people who have had that job in the past, especially people who have had that job at that same company, or even ones who currently have that same type of job, because you get to know, like, hey, what can I expect? What are some good questions for me to ask in the interview? How should I prepare myself? What do they typically look for? What's the working environment like? Really great questions, especially for people who have had that job or currently have that job. You're going to want to use your LinkedIn profile and other profiles. Don't just passively follow people. Engage. Make your own posts. Like and comment on other people's posts. Continue to send messages and things like that. And again, increasing your odds of networking, always follow the people, especially if you have interviews. Get their names, get their job titles, find their contact info, either send an email or a LinkedIn message thanking them for their time, but certainly connect with them on LinkedIn. And anytime you go to a conference and stuff, either in person or online, any event, try and get the names and connect with those people on LinkedIn afterwards. So how do you ask questions? How do you pitch yourself outside of just a cold connection? When you're emailing somebody, when you're actually in person or on Zoom speaking with them, what's that powerful introduction that's going to be concise, get your point across, and not kind of be fumbly. If you're like me and if you've ever been in an interview and they say, oh, tell us about yourself, sometimes you're nervous and you darn near forget your own first name. If you craft a powerful introduction and you rehearse it ahead of time, it's going to flow naturally. So you're going to start by opening with your interests. What interests you in this career field, this major and field of study, this company, what interests you in that person, things like that. You're going to discuss your experience, which makes it like relevant for why you're speaking with them. Either, hey, I'm looking to just learn more about this career field. I'm a freshman. I don't even know what classes to take. Or, hey, I'm a graduating senior. I'm looking to find like where jobs are typically posted for our type of careers. Or you're an alumni saying like, hey, I'm retooling, I'm switching career fields or whatever. Note your strengths, skills, and competencies, not just your experience, but also like what you bring to the table. And again, finish by explaining what you are looking for, what you want to have happen out of this conversation. I love this slide. Very often, networking and pitches start from the back front. They start with why, how, what. They start with what, how, why. And I want you to go why, how, what, because everyone knows what they're doing. And some people know how they're doing what they do, but not a lot of people tend to explain why they're doing that thing. Why are you a creative? Why are you in this type of career field? Why are you passionate about the things that you do? Then how do you do the things that you do? What is your skills? What are your experiences? What do you bring to the table? And then what do I want out of this opportunity? What do I do? And things of that nature, you guys understand. So I want you to start with your why, your passion for that field, and then explain how you're doing it, and then finish with like what you're looking for later on. Again, start with your why, showcase your how, and explain your what. The best thing to do is start with a long thing, just like extemporaneous speaking, write it out or type it out on something. Just write a huge long one. Don't limit yourself. Then go back through with a red pen and edit that thing down to really core things that you can't get rid of, making sure that they still hit the why, how, what. And then make sure that you can say it in about 30 seconds without notes. That's called an elevator pitch. You should be able to say a 30-second elevator pitch, a 1-minute elevator pitch, and even a 5-minute elevator pitch if you have your own business or you're going in for an interview. But practice it ahead of time and still be human. One of the biggest mistakes with students that I find going to a networking event is that they practice their pitch, but then they don't know where to go after that when someone asks them questions. That's why you want to make sure you're still human and it's not too much of a script for yourself, and you're leaving it a little bit open-ended for that conversation to go in a different direction. So informational interviewing, it's a semi-informal meeting with a person that has information that benefits you. It's not necessarily people who are specifically in the job that you need to speak with. I always tell people, you're not going to start by networking with M. Night Shyamalan, but you might speak with the faculty who knows an alumni who works at the company, who knows the PA, who knows the AD, and go up the ladder. Eventually, you possibly might speak to M. Night Shyamalan or someone very close to him. But either this person knows the information, or they might know, and you are networking with them to see if they do know the information, or they might know somebody who knows. Again, think of it again as a net. You know 5 people, and this one person knows 5 people, and that one person knows 5 people. Typically within 4 to 5 networking meetings, you can find the perfect person to speak with. It just takes time, and again, being persistent. Networking is a skill, it's a habit that you build over time, and hopefully you'll never stop networking. But when you get started, it's slow, and that's okay. Everyone starts somewhere. But regardless, the person you're speaking with knows more than you. If you are speaking with somebody who knows less than you, it's actually really shocking and honoring when an underclassman actually reaches out to you, or someone below you reaches out and says, hey, I'd like to network, I'd like to have an informational interview, because you're like, wow, I'm an adult now? Like I have more knowledge. It's really it's honoring, and it's fantastic. That's not necessarily a informational interview for you, it's for them, but you want to give back to your community. And so eventually one day you will be on the other side of this. But you need to prepare yourself, all right? Grooming and clothing. Brush your teeth, wash your face, do your hair, look presentable. You don't want to show up with a 3-piece tuxedo to a coffee date, but you also don't want to roll out of bed in your pajamas. You want to make sure that you're somewhere like business casual or something like that. Even if you are over Zoom, you want to make sure you're treating this almost kind of like an interview. Dress well, be prepared. I want you to research ahead of time. If it's coffee, where are you going? Where are you parking? Be there early rather than just on time, and prepare yourself with that location, where you're parking, where you're going, how to navigate it. And if it's online, technology, where are you guys meeting? What tech are you using? Does your video and audio work? Things like that. Research that person ahead of time within reason. It's really good to say, hey, you know, I see that you actually did your first degree at Cal Lutheran and then you transferred into ASU. What was that like? But you don't want to say, how's your wife, Carol? That's a little creepy. You want to prepare your questions. Don't just like have it roll off the cuff. And I want you to take notes on paper. I want you all, when you are going into an informational interview, whether that be in person or online, write your questions down on a piece of paper. There's cognitive science about how that really helps. I'm not going to go into it. Just trust me, it's way more professional. If you are on your phone, I have no idea if you're on a dating app or actually taking notes. And if you're on your laptop on Zoom and you're typing, then all I get to hear is the clicking of your computer. Take it down on notes. And that way, when you're taking those notes, you can actually reference them back later when you're sending that thank you email. There's a lot of different info that you can ask. There are such thing, though, as bad questions, but you can ask like, hey, what pro organizations should I join? What typical job titles should I be looking out for when I'm graduating? Like, what type of job titles need like 10 years of experience versus what is like good for like coming right out of undergrad or something? Asking for other connections as well. Websites for job posts, you know, there are industry specific websites, and those people are going to know where those get posted. For instance, here at ASU, if anyone's looking to work at ASU, I know to tell them, hey, you know, our jobs are posted elsewhere, but it's going to be a lot easier if you just Google ASU jobs and click right there. It's going to be the first link. It's a lot easier to find. So a lot of other companies have their own tips and tricks as well. But there's a lot of great questions, but what I want you to end with is, what questions haven't I asked? What else would you like to tell me? Because they typically go in there wanting to impart some wisdom, and you might not have asked that stuff yet. So that means you want to also make sure you're setting up a time frame for when this meeting starts and ends, so that you know ahead of time, hey, we're wrapping up here. I want to be mindful of time. What haven't I asked yet? What should I know from you? What to avoid? Do not ask for a job. That's gross. It's weird. It puts them in a really awkward position of having to come up with an excuse or like politely tell you no. Don't talk over them or cut them off. I have a rough time of that. I'm a talker. That's why I take notes, so I don't forget a question or making a comment after that. Don't demand anything. Don't demand them to give your resume to somebody. Don't demand them to stuff. You can hold them accountable if they offer to transfer you somewhere, or if they offer to take a look at your resume, you can send that afterwards, but don't go in demanding anything. And don't ask too personal of questions like, hey, why did you have to take a leave of absence or something like that? And don't offer too personal details. If they go there, that's okay, but you don't want to come in with that kind of energy. Now, following up is so important. I always use this slide. I love this slide. I love clip art. Water your garden. You don't just plant a seed and walk away, right? It's not going to grow. You have to check back in. Periodically check up on your network, just like you would an old friend or like a relative you haven't spoken with in a while. Every few months or so, check in. Every month or so, remind them of who you are. Say, hey, Juliet, you know, just checking back in. Hope things are going well. And I'll talk to you again soon. That way, if Juliet has heard about something recently, like, oh, yeah, hey, DP, actually, I heard about something over at MGM. You know, I'm not there, but my friend told me about this job. Go ahead and take a look. You're not going to get that connection if Juliet has totally forgotten who you are, right? So you want to actively listen during that informational interview, during those meetings, and take notes to document action items that they offered you or that you offered them. In those meetings, you want to ask for business cards, ask for contact info. Business cards aren't that common anymore, but in an entertainment, they absolutely are. Give your business card and send that follow-up email and connect with them on LinkedIn. Send that follow-up email within 48 hours of meeting with them. So if you meet with them on Friday at like a school event, by Monday morning at 8 a.m., they should have a thank you email from you. So that was rapid fire. We went through a lot of information really quickly. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. I know I speak very fast and I go through a lot of information quickly, but this video will be available. I have everyone here. I have your email addresses, so I'll actually save this as a PDF and send it out to you for posterity's sake. But right here, 2 easy ways of getting a hold of us. If you have any questions, if you'd like to schedule an advising appointment, links.asu.edu/CCS, Creative Career Services _students, or just email creativecareers@asu, or better yet, Google is your friend. Herberger Institute Career Services, we're going to be the first link there. There's a lot of great services and resources for you available online, and I really encourage everybody to check in with us. And again, activate your network. There's no bad time to start networking, and there's no drawbacks to networking. It doesn't have to be scary. We're all just human beings connecting with one another.